Happy Sunday. Oh, let's get this right. That's better. All right, happy Sunday, everybody. Just finished my cardio. As you can see, I'm a sweaty mess. But either way, we got it done. We got it done early. It's out of the way for the day. Now we can enjoy this day. Hopefully, we get a cheat meal on the docket today, because Lord knows I can go for a pizza. That being said, I know that yesterday I said that I was going to talk about the old myth, heavy weights to put on mass only and light weights to tone up your muscle. Okay, first off, I always said that this is a big myth. Let's take Dexter Jackson per se. Dexter Jackson is a former Mr. Olympia who has never been known to train heavy ever. Think about that. He's never trained heavy before. I'm sure he has, but he doesn't anymore. And he has put on mass. He is 50 or more and still competing in the Mr. Olympia competition. So you have to ask yourself, is it always true? Justin Compton, I believe, just put out something on Instagram that said, as long as you take the muscle till failure, you're still breaking it down. What does that mean? Well, if you push and push and push until you're physically unable to lift that weight one more time, you've achieved muscular failure. Okay? Now, the question asks, we always talk about volume as bodybuilders. For those of you who are completely blind on the subject, let's say I bench press 200 pounds 10 times. That's 2,000 pounds of volume. I bench press 100 pounds 26 times. That's 2,600 pounds of volume. Therefore, I've put more volume on with less weight. Does that make sense? Okay. So technically, you're going to get more work out of the muscle, or more muscle fatigue on the lighter weight with what you're able to accomplish. So you have to keep those things in mind when you're doing stuff like this. Lightweight will not get you toned. Unfortunately, I'm going back to, guess what's going to get you toned? Your diet. Diet is the only thing that's going to physically put you into shape. I constantly hear people say, well, I'm lifting so much heavier and I still can't see my abs. You can't see your abs because there's a layer of fat on them. I'm sorry to tell you. I don't care how many exercises you do for abs, you're not going to see your abs without proper diet. You have to diet yourself down to whatever body fat you are. And for everybody, it's different on a specific body fat. Some guys can see their abs at 14, 12%, and you can see them great because they have a strong abdominal wall. Myself, I'm not very genetically blessed in that whole ab department. I have to get down fairly lean to even see where my abs look, what my abs look like. Typically 10% or below for me. So, some guys can be, Eddie Hall put out a picture. I know people said it was fake. And I'm sure Eddie Hall's still upwards of, 15 to 20% body fat. But you can see all his abs because his abdominal wall is so strong and so thick. Yes, you can make them bigger just like any other muscle if you put weight, resistance against it. So that's here nor there. I am a big proponent in DC training. DC training is called dog crap training, created by Dante Trudell. Without knowing, when I first started lifting weights when I was playing hockey, we would only do one working set per muscle group. And I achieved amazing results. I'm talking 20, 30 pounds within a year. So that got me thinking when I started doing research on DC training, how it can work. And basically it's very, very minimal volume on a muscle. One working set. I don't know if it's evolved since but it would contain a widowmaker, which is pretty much an exhaustion of the muscle. You would have your one set that is extremely balls to the wall, and then you would do an extreme stretch. The extreme stretch also helps tear the tissue down. Remember, when I talk about muscle growth, you have to remember muscle growth is not a product of lifting weights. Muscle growth is an adaptation to a stress, and the stress that you put on. The recovery process is when the muscle growth happens. So that's why it's important to get adequate food, adequate sleep, adequate water for proper recovery. That's when the muscle's actually going to grow. The muscle will not grow in the gym. You are just tearing it down. Okay, you are tearing fibers. You're doing micro tears in the fibers with every set, every rep that you do. How you achieve that with lightweight or heavyweight is up to you. But the old myth that I can put somebody on a plan, let's say 6 to 10 reps on a pretty heavy load, and they're not gonna look like Mr. Olympia, let's say, or they're not gonna look like Miss Olympia and have this awesome back within 6 months. It's not gonna happen. Especially with women. Women are always hesitant to lift heavy weights, push themselves to the brink of failure. Unfortunately, there's so many markers or hormonal markers that are the difference between a man and a woman that it's physically impossible, unless you are a genetic freak as a woman, to gain the type of muscle tissue that a male will gain. Okay? So when thinking about stuff like that, especially if you're getting into a training program, one thing that I always stress to people is, if you're somebody who is not happy with your composition, please, please, please don't rely on what the scale says. Because I told you I have one of my training partners. I've worked with him now since November, December. And he started with me at like 244. I would probably venture to say he was 20 to 25% body fat. Right now, I believe we probably got him down to about 15 or 16. And he's 241 pounds. So it's the composition difference that has changed the most within him. We're actually bringing him onto a small diet break because his immune system kept crashing on us. He kept getting sick. We tried a 3 or 4 methods to try and stave it off in the process, but unfortunately it didn't work. So it was my decision to pull him out of the deficit and start to feed him back some food. And fortunately, I got him to lose 5 pounds in the first week. So it's a game. It really is. But you cannot rely on the scale to see what your progress is. In 2017, when I made my comeback, I was dead set on competing as a middleweight at 174. Unfortunately, guess what? I never even came close. I think the lowest I got down in that prep was 188. So as much as I wanted to compete as a middleweight, because that's where I was when I first competed in 2009, there was absolutely no way I was going to get there with the muscle tissue that I had put on. So please, I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but understand there's really, really no difference or no way that you're going to gain mass by training heavy all the time. Dexter Jackson's a prime example. Or you're never going to get toned by lifting 15 to 20, 30 reps. What you are going to do is deplete the muscle of glycogen. Okay, you're flushing glycogen out of the muscle. It's going to make you look flat. So like when we go into depletion stage on our last week of prep, that's what we're trying to do, is deplete our muscles of every single glycogen, all the glycogen that are with inside of it. Make ourselves look very, very flat, so then we can have a proper fill out and dry out. Okay. Unfortunately, like people say, they look at guys like me and other people and they think we're just these big meatheads who just lift a ton of weight and slam stuff down and yell loudly and Planet Fitness type stuff. No offense. But the harsh reality is we're really, really intelligent people when it comes down to it. We're intelligent with the nutrition. We're intelligent with the training. we do extensive research. Like I told you yesterday, I constantly research things to make sure that make me so I'm able to get better, and the people around me are able to get better. And we don't just go in blindly and start throwing things around. I hope that everybody can take away a little bit of something today from what I said. Please understand. Comment if you want me to talk about something. I really don't mind. Like I said, I'm allowing you guys to get to know me, get to know what I stand for, my beliefs, I guess. So until tomorrow, have a good day.